Hi, everybody. This is Alan Silver here, broadcasting from U Street. On our channel, I have Celestial at Live365.com, which will change in the future. It's kind of like an information channel. And this is what I'm going to discuss today with the demise of a very small platform, which I felt was quite revolutionary at the time that I discovered it existed. And that is Live365.com, giving you back at this particular time in the early days of the 90s, the possibilities of broadcasting your collection of music as a small webcaster. And breaking into the webcasting, we call that webcasting at the time, not broadcasting, it was webcasting. So now we're going into broadcasting. And my discovery of that back there in 2006 with the development of YouTube and the discovery of Live365, where I could have my own radio station playing directly from my Macintosh computer, from my iTunes program. So it was kind of not that difficult technologically to set it up and do the work. And at first you have two different ways of thinking about being a webcaster. I mean, I had a specific idea because I like to make playlists, and I was always interested in making different kinds of playlists sequentially without any commentary. Now, back in the radio days, in FM radio, anybody, no stream of music could not be done on FCC without an interruption of the station interruption. You know, very few streams had to announce each song. Okay. So in a sense, that was the FCC's ruling on public radio stations broadcasting music. But on the internet, this is a whole new bag. I mean, what is a webcasting as opposed to being a radio station? So I felt that had been to call something like a radio station is on Live365 made the audio aspects of the web the central issue, streaming different playlists. And that's what I think that the genius of these early days of those early programmers, even before me actually, discovered that. And then, you know, you had many genres which they expand that. So I thought as a new kind of business on the net, you know. I mean, if you put up an American-made record on your station, of course it gets royalties. So you don't have to worry about whether or not the artist is going to get royalties or not. So in terms of trying to help people mobilize their different resources, so that you actually could make a living, or not make a living, but pay your costs. You know, fundamentally, your record collection is yours. I mean, you know, so 365 doesn't own a record collection, so it didn't have like the other problems that a lot of radio stations or platforms had. You know, the idea that there's all these people out there, they got interesting record collections. So why can't these record collections are 50s and 60s and 70s? It's more archived, not current. Why would anybody, you know, on the internet put anything that was already on the radio station on why? There's no purpose. There's no purpose of bringing the territorial radio stations on the net. I didn't kind of agree with that, you know. I mean, they're paying that, well, okay. You know, But there might be some fans in the narrative who would like to do rock of the 70s or the 80s or the 60s. This is the archive period. This is, this is a station for that kind of stuff. But actually somebody any station thinking that they're going to promote some kind of form of music, that could be used too. Record labels could use that if they wanted to have their own record label. But they offered all these things to everybody during this particular period I was there. But no one really took advantage of it. I mean, nobody. I was there 10 years, and I ran 2 radio stations for 10 years. I spent, $5 a month for 10 years. See how much that was? Plus, I got internet service. That's on no matter what. So that was why I took this service anyway. I could do a live show, which means I could put up 700-800 songs and let it run. It's running, So I didn't have the confrontation of having this limit. Mine was a live stream, and I could put up any number of songs, So that was what I was doing there for a number of years. I mean, I must have streamed, hours of stuff. Audience participation, especially in avant-garde jazz, not much, to tell you the truth. VIP, joining about 1 VIP for the whole 10 years. So none of these projects brought me any, even though I had a lot of satisfaction out of that. That was, $5 a month was nothing to me. It's not expensive. If I'm going to be on the net, okay, that's the way of doing something on the net. So for me, it was learning another job, another skill. So the demise of these people, I left them about 2 years ago, after 10 years there. Because fundamentally, I was more interested in the visual, even before using the net, how we could put visuals in music. Even when YouTube, if you look at my site, early attempts to put music and images together. So YouTube was more like, for me as a visual artist working with my videos, this was a more better platform, for what I wanted to do, especially for jazz vision, So YouTube, 2006, this was a platform that I joined as another experimental platform, trying to develop it. So I'm going to read you this last recitation of this demise of this fantastic system, and you can take it for what it's worth.
The long-standing US-based online radio platform Live365 is set to go offline at the end of the month, in no small part because of the recent Copyright Royalty Board ruling on what rates online radio operations licensed via SoundExchange should pay. As previously reported, the CRB ruling was big news in the US, though most headlines centered on what it meant for Pandora, which has traditionally utilized the compulsory sound recordings license that exists under U.S. copyright law for online radio services, including personalized radio setups. The CRB controls what rates companies using the compulsory license, which is administered by SoundExchange, pay, and for Pandora the ruling meant the higher rate, though not as high as the record industry had been pushing for. Pandora was pleased with the latest changes, but small to middle-sized online radio outfits were not, because a revenue share option that had previously been available to grassroots operators was phased out. Live365, which launched way back in 1999, provides a platform for bedroom, small-scale and community broadcasters based in the U.S. by which they can webcast. It not only provides the webcasting technology for its broadcasting customers, but also music licenses, which it sorts out via the music publishing sector's collecting societies and, for recordings, under the SoundExchange license. Shortly after the CRB ruling, the company laid off staff and left its offices, explaining that the absence of the small-scale broadcaster license will make legally streaming copyrighted musical content prohibitively expensive for many small to mid-sized internet broadcasters. Live365 relies on this license for many of their broadcast partners. Meanwhile, the firm's Dean Katari argued that this development was bad news for the record industry that was the beneficiary of the higher royalties. He said, "The true value of Live365 lies in its diversity of content. It's a sanctuary where you can hear music and other content that is so unlike the template broadcasting that is heard on most terrestrial radio. These stations are the hard work of real human beings who use Live365 to share their vision with the world. It's a home for musical discovery because many of these stations play emerging artists that terrestrial stations are reluctant to take a chance on." To make matters worse, Live365 also lost investors in the wake of the CRB ruling. At the time, management said that they were trying to find new business partners to help them move forward, but it seems that search has been unsuccessful. According to Rain, a recent email to webcasters who use the Live365 platform reads, "We are sad that we are closing our doors at the end of this month. There are always possibilities that we can come back in one form or another, but at this point in time, the 31st of January 2016 is the last day that Live365's streaming servers and website will be maintained and supported." It's thought that many of the grassroots webcasters that rely on Live365 will struggle to find alternative ways to legally webcast given the removal of the special SoundExchange license for small-scale operations. They will therefore be hoping Live365 can indeed come back in one form or another, though that seems far from assured for now. Get more CMU.
So you see, that story there, at the end, as a participant in that particular, I didn't consider it an experiment. I considered it a very viable business proposal. But this current trend, the current trend of the copyright material, and the difference between the record labels producing a physical product, which was they were responsible for all the records that were on Live365, for instance. I mean, in the early days, there was a program on Live365 called Bop City. This guy was transferring a lot of Blue Note records into MP3 formats so we could play that music that was not on CD format at the moment, you know, or not, depends. Those kind of concepts were I thought Live365, especially in the jazz and improvised music sector, it didn't attract collectors. It didn't attract fan base people that would be on the net fundamentally, as I know. I mean, I was there a lot of times. You know, so you don't have many email exchanges and so forth with any kind of people there. Fan-based comments, stuff like that, zero. This was a means of an enormous amount of autonomous, in a sense, for a station as a programmer. when you're programming that much music at any time. But it's anyway. That's the way it was. We had 5,000 radio stations. Everybody's streaming, so whatever we could read. But I thought the main thing is that the audience, the general internet audience, didn't see the value of Live 365. The VIP package they offered you. They offered you a VIP package for $5 a month, $4 or something like that a month, or you could buy it for a year, and you could have ad-free radio and good quality. So they try to make the VIP the big issue. Now, true, VIP brings a lot of revenue to 365. So we could get 1 million prescribers for 1 year's prescription. This would put us in good shape, having 1 million prescribers. So they didn't really push this prescribing platform. And they more shifted, I think they shifted more to the advertising format. And I thought they needed to stress the value of being a VIP member to the broad internet audience, sense. And so they didn't address that because, I don't know, but that would be my contention. I mean, that was one of the failures. Not a failure, but it's just at first the SoundExchange was just the first negotiations, with this internet whole business, of internet rights. Who has the rights to play something, on the internet, and to make money on someone's music, which is, I understand that. That was the issues I always supported, that you needed to have a revenue for. You have to have a service that has to be paid for. There's only 2 other ways that can be done, So you can sit in your room and only have 3 people in the room, and you may have paid for the royalties of all the musicians in the room. The less people, the more VIP people you have in your room, the more money you make, and the more money the musicians make. You understand? It's a fair deal. So that's basically, we could have expanded, we could have had a lot more broadcasters too. That would have been another more, jazz and improvised music was a vast recording field, and in the emerging of, it was because 365 was an American company, it was not European based, even though we could broadcast globally to everybody. Fundamentally, it was a United States-based SoundExchange. So foreign record labels, I didn't think that they could, broadcast. But I did. Because I'm an American. So that was the greatest thing about. But that only could be coming from a bunch of American guys. You understand? You have to look at the business model that they did, and see what this business model that we all face with when everybody is talking about free services, and advertising deal with free service. All this YouTube. I can't pay you anything. YouTube doesn't want YouTube to be prescription. Those who want to, don't want commercials, and and so they never developed YouTube developed a professional side of YouTube, and mixed everybody up into everything else. So those are the issues of these 3 emerging platforms. And currently, now I would say the future of streaming. Streaming has to be done on an audio-visual level. It just cannot be audio. This is my contention. You got to think about what's the relationships between your musical content and what you can put up while people are in your website. To keep them focused on the music. And visuals are one of those things that could be done. But that's another discussion. So I thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this little discourse.